What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Mitja of Bodom After Midnight. Thank you so much for your time today, man. It's great to be able to talk with you today.
No, it's great to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to first off thank you for this brand new EP, Paint the Sky with Blood, to remember a hero to many with Alexi Laiho. I just wanted to know, I know this is kind of like a what if question, but was this EP kind of a representative of what Bodom After Midnight would have been going into for the future in a way, or was this meant to just be a first taste, if you will?
Well, yeah, kind of, because like the EP was like within the original plan, so to speak, because of the COVID thing, it really messed up our like original plans. That was to like when we formed the band to maybe tour for a year and a half before actually even entering a studio. But then when life happened and COVID struck, we had to like adjust to that, and then we figured out, all right, let's do it like that. We're gonna put out an album first, and then tour, and then we would have our own like original material. And then we had the discussion that it's gonna take a long time for us to write and finish an album. So we figured that we'd do an EP and have it put out first so that people could get a little taste of what's coming up, and then have the full length album released like the by the end of the year or something like that. So we kind of went with the original plan here, and so that this wasn't something that we put together afterwards.
Hmm.
But yeah, those two tracks were would have probably been included in the full length as well. Don't know 100%, but that was the idea, to give some people a little kind of a taste of what to expect from the full length.
Yeah. Well, what I found really great about the track "Paint the Sky with Blood" is that, like, it was definitely Alexi Laiho. It definitely had the Children of Bodom, but you also played with Santa Cruz, and I know that the other member was in Paradise Lost. So, like, did maybe like with the formation of Bodom After Midnight, you and everybody were kind of like trying to combine your previous projects into one, where they kind of like influencing each other in a way?
Well, I think, well, first of all, of course, all the songs are like written by Alexi, naturally, but and it wasn't something maybe that we consciously like thought that we're gonna combine different things. I think the point was that it's gonna come natural anyhow, since you put four different guys in the studio, it's gonna sound like us naturally. We don't have to. Doesn't have to be a conscious decision or a goal that we aimed at. It came really naturally, and during the writing process, Alexi gave us a lot of liberties of to express ourselves through our instruments and stuff, and we had saying in the arrangements and stuff like that. So I think maybe that's the reason why it sounds a bit different, I guess.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, do you think that maybe because you and Daniel and well, Terry were I thought you all had a great collaborative effort in this as well, along with Alexi. Do you? And I saw in a previous interview that there's pretty much is nothing left after Bodom After Midnight. But do you think that, can you see maybe the three of you writing together? Because I do think that this was a great collaboration with the three of you. Like, do you think maybe, even if it's not Bodom After Midnight, maybe you would collaborate in the future on other projects?
Well, never say die, right? So it's like you never know what's going to happen in the future, but of course, like, we didn't even have to have the discussion about are we going to continue as Bodom After
Yeah.
Midnight, since that was, well, it's just natural that that with Alexi in a way, and we didn't want to keep on kind of milking the cow so much, and it would have felt wrong in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So we wanted to respect that, but yeah, who knows? what the future brings. We might do some stuff together, we might not, but you never know. We haven't really talked about this that much.
Yeah, I just thought, because like, when I heard of the formation of Bodom after midnight, like Children of Bodom combined with Paradise Lost, combined with Norther, combined with Santa Cruz, I'm like, this is, I mean, it's almost kind of like taking corners from every form of Finnish rock into one. Like if only you had Villy Valo do a track vocally, you would have covered everything on that. So that's what I thought was so interesting about it. Like it almost brings in melodic death metal with rock and roll with some doom incorporated in there. I feel like the sky was almost the limit with that collaborative side.
Yeah, maybe Alexi was trying to build his own Frankenstein here. I don't know what he had in mind with this, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. For you, how different of a songwriting process or like a different of a playing style was it playing with Santa Cruz versus Bodom After Midnight? Was it like, is there kind of like a usual method behind the madness that applied to everything or?
The writing process couldn't have been more different with these bands, so to speak. I don't see many common threads in there, but since what I've used is that someone makes a demo that is like really close to what we're getting to, and and then someone would come up with lyrics, and maybe others would a little bit have a saying on that, depending on the songs, and there was multiple persons writing songs during that time, but you could like from the demos you could get like the basic idea, and then we would just go to studio and like record the actual versions, but they are not that far fetched from the demos that we had. Then again, now we would go to rehearsal place and Alexi would turn up with just like riffs, and he'd be like, all right dude, sit down, I got this lick here that I've been thinking that could be a cool part. I don't know what to do with it yet, but we'll see. And then you could play something like this, and you could have like a blast beat or something here, and he would just have the parts, and then we would try them out in different orders, and trying to come up with the arrangement. And then a few days will go by, and he'd come to rehearsal place like, oh man, I gave it a little bit more of a thought, and it doesn't even go the way it did on Monday. So like so he changed them around a lot, and we never made any demos. There isn't even any. So it was really kind of old school. He had it all in his head, and we were kind of the guinea pigs that he tested it with at the rehearsal place, that how it would actually sound like and what would it need. And then our producer, that is actually Jonas, who played with me in the previous band Santa Cruz, he was like, all right dude, do you have any demos? I'm like, well, I have this phone recording from our rehearsal place. It's like, all right, don't send it, man. Like but it was that of an old school approach to that, and I kind of like that. It kept us on our toes, and it was a really fruitful environment for new ideas, because like nothing was decided yet.
Yeah.
So
well,
yeah, go ahead.
and because what I obviously with the name Bodom After Midnight, it was obviously people were going to assume that like, oh, it's just a continuation of what we heard off of Children of Bodom. I know you were going to play some Children of Bodom songs, but like it almost seemed like it was a very collaborative effort. I thought it was very organic. When I heard Paint the Sky with Blood, I thought it was a very organic collaborative process, and even though I never had the privilege of meeting Alexi Laiho, it seemed like he was a very open-minded and loved collaborating with other people, right?
Yeah, he made it really easy for us, and we had, because of the COVID thing, we had a lot of time together and a lot of rehearsal days, so everything was really natural. And like I said, he gave us the freedom of expressing ourselves a lot. And he said, like, when I was, for example, we were at the studio, and I'm like, all right, we really didn't go through these bass parts that much, or like I had the basic idea about what actually to play. And he's like, all right, hey man, I trust you. Like you do your thing, and that was pretty much the way we rolled. And actually, a lot of like small changes and details were like tuned at the studio.
Mhm.
And funny when I said that we didn't have any demos, it was also really interesting since we wrote all the songs, like four of us, right? Or did the arrangements, and then those didn't have any keyboards on them or no vocals at all. So like next time after recording the bass tracks and I go to the studio, I hear the songs with the keyboards and vocals. I was like, all right, this is what it's gonna sound like. So it was like even a bit of a surprise for us what it's gonna end up sounding. So it was interesting.
I wanted to actually ask about your bass playing for a little bit because, I mean, it's rock and roll. I'm sure we've all heard our fair share of bass player jokes here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, but people don't realize like bass has is important as it has both an emphasis on rhythm and melody at the same time. So when it came to writing bass parts, is it always better to have music there to know what to write, or throughout your career have you ever had a whole bass pattern written down and maybe that would help influence the sound of the music?
No, not really. There might be some small parts here and there, but usually it's just, I think balancing between guitars and drums and taking, kind of being the glue there in between, like having some rhythmic things from taken from the drum parts, and then the rest from the guitars. And I think that's really the job for a bass player, so to speak, and I've never, it's I've always hated the kind of show off bass players, so to speak. I'm more into the guys that, that work with the song and by the rules of the song, I guess.
Hmm. By the way, I couldn't help but notice the Iggy and the Stooges vinyl in the background.
Oh yeah.
That album, Raw Power, actually has my favorite song that Iggy Pop ever sang on, "Gimme Danger." That song is just so catchy. Like,
Ain't it, man?
what?
Yeah, ain't it so? Like I was just putting on together this kind of a playlist, and I was like, if I had to choose one Iggy song, everyone has heard "Search and Destroy," so it must be "Gimme Danger" then, right?
Yeah, I heard "Gimme
But
Danger."
yeah, I had to do this because like all my covers were getting smashed because all my friends would lie here in the couches and sit on them. So I had to get this little stand to keep them up so they don't break.
Oh yeah, you insulting a man's vinyl record collection is worse than insulting a man's mother. You just can't do
Yeah.
that. And like, but like,
Not in this house.
yeah. But is Iggy Pop like a huge inspiration for you? I heard "Gimme Danger" actually through a video game as a kid. That's how I discovered Iggy and the Stooges. So I was is Iggy Pop like one of your
Well,
inspirations?
it's been not musically maybe that much as of attitude wise. But of course, I'm a huge fan of punk music, and some right some might shoot me for this shit, but I think Iggy has been really the grandfather and the big bang of whole punk movement, even
I
though some
agree.
might disagree. But to me, punk rock got born in late '60s in Detroit.
Yeah.
So he has influenced so many, like, or I like his records, but he has also influenced so many other bands that I love, that he's one of the dudes for me.
Yeah. Well, what I actually agree with you because like obviously a lot of people say that the Sex Pistols invented punk and I'm not denying that, but like they have one album. Like I mean, it like I to me when a band innovates something, like I can't like say oh they really invented it from one album because there's so much more to explore with it. Maybe they laid down the groundwork for it, but to me, I think you're right. Iggy was so prolific and I mean, if you watched him in interviews and you watched him on stage, and I mean, he's punk rock everywhere. He doesn't just use it as an image. He doesn't just use it as a sound. It's he literally is what he creates. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, and to me, like, all right, I'm a huge fan of Sex Pistols, of course, but like, you know, they were once again a band that got influenced by loads of U.S. punk bands that were way before them. So I guess they're just you know they're this little. They added some extra to the whole concept, but I would never say that those guys started the whole movement in any way.
Definitely. And
And sometimes even being said that they were the first boy band ever, but
ooh,
once again I have to be careful here what I'm saying, right?
shots fired. That's gonna be the headline.
Yeah.
Sex Pistols is the first boy band. The Backstreet Boys is their greatest legacy. Yeah, we're gonna get some hate mail from that, but you know what? It's worth it. You got to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my visas canceled for UK now.
Yeah. Well. Oh well. That's fine. But that's what Brexit does. But and like the another thing I was really curious, if you don't mind me asking, because I never had the privilege of meeting Alexi Laiho in person, but like I've watched so many interviews with him and I've seen Children of Bodom live so many times. He always not only did he seem just like a great musician who was passionate about what he did, he also seemed like he was really really funny. Like he really seemed like he was kind of like a character in a way. Like he never took himself too seriously. You would think somebody that technically excellent that they were always like very focused. So do you have any like maybe funny stories with Alexi that you would like to share? Because I know that like all Finnish bands know each other in a way. So I there's no doubt in my mind that you and Alexi even went back before Bodom After Midnight. And so like, do you have any like fun Children of Bodom stories or Alexi stories you could share?
No, well, I don't know if there's any particular ones, but yeah, like you said, he never took himself too seriously. Even though some people have told me that like the impression that you can get from interviews and the some of the live performances is that he's really this hate filled guy who's just against everything. But then again, when you rehearse with this guy, he couldn't be far from it. We were just cracking jokes about everything, and nothing was taken seriously with that dude. So it was like constant laughing, laughing at some comedy series or like Big Lebowski jokes or whatnot. But he was, and I think that's kind of, it came as a surprise to me as well in the beginning. But I think that also made him really approachable in a way when
Yeah.
we first met, since I didn't know the guy that well before um I joined the Bodom After Midnight, and that's why the whole thing that he asked me like if I would be interested, it came to me as a total surprise, since we have never really talked that much before. So kind of the year that we had together was kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
and and I've already said this, but I think, even funny as it sounds, but thanks to COVID, it got us way closer than we would have probably been if we would be just touring, I guess, but
Yeah.
or working in a way.
Yeah. I mean, and people know like that's something I think a lot of his listeners admired about him because Follow the Reaper and Hate Crew Death Roll and Blood Drunk. I mean, they're all monster albums. But I mean, how many melodic death metal musicians could fucking do a Britney Spears cover so goddamn well? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and his musical taste was really wide. He could listen to Avril Lavigne songs and Megadeth songs and Dissection songs within a night, and it would be a no biggie. But I think also the kind of, all right, you're not gonna hear a fucking Avril Lavigne influence in Alex's music, but he was really good at combining different styles of music and make it work.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that people often forget, and I think for me, for example, Bodom was one of the first like really, you know metal bands that I got to know. Like Bodom introduced me to Panteras and everything after that. And I think that was kind of this. It had this kind of crossover feel to it, so it was maybe an easier approach than some of the more, you know, the other metal bands. I don't have any examples, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, speaking for me personally, had it not been for Follow the Reaper, I would not be into death metal. And I'm talking all death metal. It got me into At the Gates and The Haunted and Soilwork, but it also got me into Morbid Angel and Cannibal Corpse and all of those
It's
bands.
like a musical gateway drug, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, like, do I think Children of Bodom invented melodic death metal? No, that's obviously debatable, but I stand strong behind the concept that they definitely perfected it. I mean, I'm sure back in before Bodom, the idea of having synthesizers in death metal was almost sacrilege to some people, but like, you know, Alexi and Warman, I mean, they all made it work, and and I wanted to thank you again for releasing this new EP because I think it is going to be a great way to remember him by. And the final question I wanted to ask you we talked about it before that you're not sure if maybe that you and Daniel and everybody are going to continue to collaborate, but for you personally, you are a very talented player yourself. Are you currently inspired at all? Are you going to be writing anything or involved with any projects as well for the future?
Um, well, I thought it this way that I want to have this, you know, chapter, you know, finished first and have a kind of a clean slate. So like not having loose ends, have the EP released and out there before focusing on anything else. But yeah, of course I'm gonna keep on doing music and have done, you know, some, you know, my own. I've recorded down my own ideas since there's nothing to do, so I kind of built this little home studio that I've never had before for some ideas. Don't know where to use them yet or what the future might bring, but like only thing that I've kind of what has changed after the whole Bodom of Minna thing is like one thing that I kind of got from Alexi as well, maybe that do something that you're like your whole heart is into and you got to do whatever you put yourself into, you have to do it to the fullest. And that's what I'm kind of looking for next, like whatever that might be, you know, some new band, of course, naturally, but don't know yet. But then again, if you think about it, I would never guess that Alexi is gonna walk up to a show that I'm playing at and ask me to join a band. So, you know, you never know what's gonna happen, but we'll see. And like I've said also this before, but like if I would just give up playing now, there's this one guy, few, you know, inches shorter than me who is gonna hunt me down for the fucking rest of my life in nightmares if I, you know, would give up now. So
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
Yep. As the number one thing Alexi I think taught all metalheads and rock lovers is no matter what happens, you got to push through. And I think that was really what the meaning of all of his music was, and what all of his. When I hear his guitar work, that's what I feel. You just have to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and actually that's one thing that I, you know, kind of want to pinpoint since when I was a teenager. Of course, Bodom was big back then already. They had probably just released Hey Crew or something. But to my generation, especially in Finland, Alexi was like this guy who showed that it's possible to get out of this northern small country by doing what you love the most. And if you just, you know, keep on pushing, everything is possible. So I think that inspired a lot of kids my age at the time, and it still does, to, you know, believe in the things that they do and their dreams, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, Alexi, if you could hear this, for all of you inspired us to do. And so I want to thank you again so much for your time. Just with the release of this EP, is there anything else that you would like to plug or shout out?
No, just like give it a spin, and you know, I'm glad that we were able to record even these few songs and have you guys enjoy them as much as we do. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bodom, After Midnight, Paint the Sky with Blood, the EP coming out via Napalm Records April 23rd. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.